All right, welcome to our coaching chat call. I'm excited about the call today. Whether or not y'all get anything out of it, I don't know, but I learned a lot and it really got my mind kind of spinning and thinking about how do I show up when I am sharing Juice Plus with people. And so let me ask you guys something for just a minute. So hopefully you've got a piece of paper or something there that you can take notes on, because we're going to be kind of sharing some things and hopefully you can keep it with you to come. But if I say the word salesman, what's that feeling that you're feeling right now? Like, what comes to me is immediately I become kind of defensive, kind of annoyed. I don't even care what the product is. If I feel like someone is showing up as a salesman, I don't get a good feeling inside, and I'd be surprised if anybody on here did. So at the end, when we chat, if you did, I want to hear your story. But for most of us, it is like, ew, that's the feeling. Well, let me show you something I just saw, and I thought it was pretty funny. What if you walked up to a business and this is what you saw? No charity, no politics, no religion, no estimates, no petitions, no magazines, no salespeople, no exceptions. Well, that's kind of, I think, how most of us feel. But if you look at that laundry list, most people's job falls into one of those categories. Am I right? You know, they're either working for a nonprofit, they're working in politics, they're in religion, in ministry. They're, even if we're talking about in the medical field, they're giving estimates. They're telling you how much it'll cost to have a procedure done. Or petitions. Someone's upset. Someone the other day sent me something, I don't know what I signed, but she was like, hey, I need everyone to sign this. So I signed it. It was something to do about a tennis court. I don't even know what it was, didn't want to take the time, but I signed it. Magazines, salespeople. All of those are literally most people's career path kind of fall into one of those. But if we're being banned, how do we move forward? I even think about being a parent. Maybe I wouldn't call it sales, but it's being persuasive. Persuading your kid to get up quickly, get dressed, get to the breakfast table and out to the car to get them to school. That takes persuasion all morning long, or persuading them to pick up their clothes, persuading them to do their homework. You know, all of these areas, you know, as a wife, so I'm a mom, I'm a wife, you know, I'm persuading my husband all the time to do things that I think maybe is in the best interest as us as a couple, as us as a family, persuading him to, would you put this away, put that away, pick this up, pick that up, would you schedule this, would you call on that? So all of whatever we're doing, most likely, we don't look at it as sales, but truly we are. We're trying to move people. So whether we are selling people on our ideas, on our beliefs, on our causes, on our future. You know, if you think about it, you're persuading or encouraging someone to look a little further into the future to make sure they're making great decisions now. Or whether or not it's our products or services. We better be good at selling, whether or not we want to use that terminology or not, because we do it every day and we pretty much do it with everyone we're in relationship with. Would everyone agree with me on that? Pretty much. We're trying to move people in a particular direction. So this book that my husband actually bought it for me, and it came in the mail, and I saw it and I was like, wow, that looks like a good book. I'm going to ask him if I can borrow. And I said, Scott, what did you get this book for? I said, did you get this to read? He goes, no, I got it for you. I thought it sounded really good. So I just went ahead and ordered it. And so when I started reading, I was like, wow, this is great stuff that I wanted to share with y'all. So to persuade someone, the author of this book talks about, in order to persuade someone, persuasion, or getting someone to move from point A to point B requires three things. So they're Greek words. The first one is pathos, second one is logos, and third one is ethos. Hopefully I'm pronouncing those correctly. The first one, pathos, has to do with emotional movement. So the feeling side or the emotional piece of persuading someone to do something. So, I could come in to my kid's room and the bomb's gone off in that room. I could get real logical. You know what? This is disgusting. People could think this if they came in, and here's why you need to pick up your clothes. You're ruining your clothes. I could go all really data, logical, and statistics to try and persuade them. Or I could come in, I'm your mom. This is what I say. This is what you need to do. So that would be ethos. But really, when I think about it, if I go in there and just say, you know what? I really worked hard to create this environment like you wanted. We painted the walls purple because you like purple. We got that comforter because that's the one you picked out. And I start identifying kind of on that feeling side of that love, that care, that concern, that desire to make them happy. Which one of those do you think I'm going to get them moving in the direction I want? And both of us to feel good about it. Well, that's kind of what this guy begins to talk about, was that if we truly, we need all three when we're talking to people. So let's think about all three of these categories in the process of sharing Juice Plus with someone. Am I using all three of these? Because we need all three to move people to action. Because literally, and probably when it comes to this feeling thinking, that probably the pathos and logos is probably a little biased based on the sex. So would you guys not agree? Women are probably deal a little more on that feeling and emotional side, and typically men are going to be more on that logical side. And so I think when we are having these conversations with people, we need all three, but we also want to kind of pick up on who they are, what their personality is. Are they male or female? And so think through all these 3 points as you begin to think about people who you're gonna put on your hot hands list today. And how am I going to appeal to them from a feeling side, from a logical side, and then also from a credible side? And so I kind of unpack this a little more. So if I'm thinking on that feeling side, know your prospective customer. Know who they are, how they interact, how you interact with them, and then show them how much you care. You've heard that saying, nobody cares how much you know. That would be that logos until they know how much you care. So how are you approaching people? Are we just instantly kind of going into, well, Juice Plus is the most researched company in the world. Juice Plus is blah, blah, blah. It's been around for X amount of years. You need this because, you're not getting enough fruits and vegetables. How are we kind of approaching? Or kind of back to what we talked about last week, are we developing that relationship? Are we making deposits into their bank account? Or are we starting to withdraw immediately? And so when we're putting together a hot hands list today, and we're thinking about what we're gonna say, what we're gonna send to them, we've walked through that process. We also kind of wanna put that layer on top of that, in that, how much do they need to feel from me? How much do they need to hear? And then how am I showing up as a person? That credibility. So let's talk about pathos. So know your prospective customer and think about what what's going to tap into that feeling side to them? Maybe you're asking about their kids, their maybe their own personal health. So look at that feeling side and how can I tap into that so they feel and they know I care. Then also, there also has to be that logic behind it. Do you know your products? This weekend, Brenda and I worked together creating that Omega newsletter. And you know what? It was kind of cool because it forced both of us to dig deep and really learn more. I learned about how the omegas are made. So at some point, I may start out by talking about my own story about how much the omegas impacted my knees and what a difference that I'm able to still get out and walk and run and I don't feel pain in my knees since I started taking the omegas. So I kind of get in that feeling side of how I'm feeling and how it impacted me. But then what I learned more about the Omega product was how that capsule's made. And it's made, what distinguishes it from other omegas that are out there on the market, that it's done with how it's cold pressed together versus heated like all the other capsules. And so it's not damaging the oils inside of our Omega. Well, that's a fascinating thought. So if you have someone who's maybe more of a thinker, you've just put a little grain of sand, maybe under their saddle, as my husband always says, that they'll keep thinking about when they think about maybe they're taking another Omega, but every time they think about, but the Juice Plus Omegas aren't going to go rancid. Or maybe I talk a little bit more about the omegas and the fact that we skip the fish, go straight to the plankton. And consequently, you don't have to worry about getting toxins in the Juice Plus omegas because there are no fish and that's where the toxins are. Those, just a couple little points like that may resonate with someone and they're going to think about that when they go to buy the current omega. So do you know your product? Do you know the logistics? That logos portion when you're talking to people so you can bring in just a few tidbits of that. And then lastly, that ethos, which is, do you carry credibility? What if someone says, you know what, I'm not really ready to buy right now. How do you respond? Or if you invite someone to join you in the business, what you want them to know is that we work for an amazing, credible company. I see all kinds of things posted on Facebook, and I hear how other companies are run. We got a lot to be proud of for the company that you are doing business with. And then it's to kind of look within ourselves and say, how do people view me? Would they want to partner with me because I'm a credible person? Maybe you talk about, if you've been in the Juice Plus business for a while, you talk about, I've been doing this for 20 years. I can't imagine getting up and doing anything else. Literally, I get excited. I couldn't wait to get on this call with you guys today. How many people love to go to work? I can't wait to get up in the morning and start talking to people. So it's bringing in that credibility. And I say this, I don't care if I got paid. Well, obviously I'd love to be paid. So let me phrase that differently. I would still tell people about Juice Plus whether or not I got paid. And I bet most of you would too. So I make sure I say that. It's okay. You know what? I'm going to talk about Juice Plus. I just want you to know what I know and what I've discovered about this amazing whole food product and what it'll do for you. I get it. We're all in different seasons and it'll make sense at some point, and I'm okay. You'll know where to come when you're ready to add this kind of powerful nutrition to your body and really mean it. When you kind of take that pressure off, that your livelihood isn't dependent on whether or not one person buys Juice Plus or not. And then that kind of goes back up to pathos. They begin to feel that actually you care about them. I'm on a mission of inspiring healthy living. And when I focus on inspiring healthy living and changing people's lives, by default, my bank account's going to grow. But that isn't what drives me. What drives me and what I want people to know is I care about them. And when they see me caring for them, whether it's just giving them, oh my goodness, here's a recipe. I thought about you. I know you're trying to get more greens in your diet. Or, oh my goodness, I saw Caitlin Cobb posted a really cute video about exercising with her kids. She doesn't get paid to encourage people to exercise, but what she knows, that inspires healthy living. And that's what we're on this journey. And so literally weaving all three of these into your conversation so that they're feeling both the emotional side, they're feeling the logical side, and they're feeling that credibility of who you are as a person. That's going to make them want to follow you. And ultimately, they're going to respect you and do what you're recommending. And it's kind of like the same with your kids. If all I'm doing is preaching at them why they need to do X, Y, Z and approaching them from a logical manner, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. Or if I lord over them that I am your mom and you're going to do what I say and don't ask questions, you know what? That's not going to bring credibility. Even though I have that authority, that's not how I bring credibility. But this is the interesting thing about these three areas. A guy by the name of Carmine Gallo, and he wrote a book, and it's called Talk Like TED. And what he did was he tracked the impact of all these different TED Talks. And what he discovered was these three things: the pathos, logos, and ethos. And what he discovered was that if we want to move people toward living, inspiring, healthy living, we need to have all three of these when talking to people. But the majority of our time needs to be focused on that pathos category, 60% of the time. So what he did was track these TED Talks, and with the people who gravitated mostly toward the pathos had more of a response than the ones who gravitated toward the other two. And so all three are needed, but default more toward that feeling side and tapping into people's feelings. And, we do that by asking questions and captivating them and then consequently motivating them. Okay, so the 7 secrets to cracking the sales code. Today's secret was make the switch. A lot of times we talk about, okay, if you talk to 10 people, you want to get 3 people to buy. That's a typical sales mentality. But what he was saying is, let's make the shift. You need to switch your focus from ourselves. Oh my gosh, I've got to go out, and we're all guilty of this. Oh my goodness, I need 3 more trios. I'm big on talking about how many trios you need to get to qualified business. But when we're talking to our customers, we got to step back and think they can't feel that business side of it. What they have to feel is that inspiring side. So making that switch from thinking about ourselves to switching to thinking about that customer. And he talks about when we make that switch, that number 1 secret of switching to concentrating on them. And I remember my husband helped me with this in the beginning because I was beating my head against the wall saying, what is it? What are they not getting about how valuable this whole food concentrate is? And I remember he just stopped in his tracks and he looked at me and he goes, Elaine, he said, it's not your job to worry about who buys Juice Plus and who doesn't. Your job is to think about how many people can I connect with and talk to and share this amazing whole food concentrate that someone gifted and shared with me. And that took the pressure off. And when you take that pressure off, then people aren't feeling the pressure. Back to that statement, what would I do without Scott's words? But he always talks about you don't want to turn up the heat. We want to turn on the light. And that comes from letting them feel that we care, then also just logistically giving them the facts about our amazing product, and then following up by being a credible person that people want to align themselves with and follow. And that's putting all the focus on them. All right, so last thing, how am I doing on time here? Okay, perfect. We're finishing early. Let's take a couple minutes we've got about 7 minutes to maybe, if someone has a question or two, keep it focused on what we talked about today. If you would, if you've got a question that goes outside of that sphere of conversation, put that question in the chat section, and either Brenda or Linda or myself, one of us will get back in touch with you. But we'll take a few minutes for a couple questions, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Linda to do the planning with you. But anybody have any questions on those 3 areas of concentration when it comes to having conversations with people? Okay, okay, Jane, did you say something?
Yeah, the last thing you said, after give them facts about the product, the first thing you said, let them feel we care, give them the facts about the products. And what was the last thing?
The last one was on credibility. Let me see here. Was it the first slide or the second slide? Points to our credibility. We as humans are persuaded more by people we respect. So I think the key takeaway there would be, you know, am I approaching people in a respectful way, in that I do what I'm going to do what I say. I don't get upset when people don't maybe respond to hearing about Juice Plus, or they may hear about it. You know, like if somebody came back to me and said, oh my gosh, thanks for sharing that with me, I take a vitamin. You know, I think a disrespectful way would be to really poo-poo the fact that they're taking a vitamin. But instead, what you want to do is validate what they are doing. Is, I love the fact that you are proactive with your health. You know, and then maybe I would go into kind of sharing our vitamin story, my husband's vitamin story. You know, that's what we did when we were in the beginning, was we were taking a vitamin supplement. And then I'll tell him about Scott having a bad reaction from taking a vitamin. I started learning more about whole food nutrition, and that's why Juice Plus really resonates with me. So you're kind of validating them for seeking out and pursuing good health, but you're also turning on that light and helping them understand that whole food nutrition is, you know, where we've come from a knowledge standpoint down through the years. Okay, did that kind of help? Dale, I think you had a question, but you were on mute.
Oh, I have very fussy grandkids, and they don't want to hear about nutrition. They're all in sports, but they sure like the American diet. And unfortunately, my boys are also into the American diet and think that I'm just a grandma. Or, you know, because I've been, you know, the victim of fraud, I don't have any credibility. Or I don't know what it is, but it's driving me crazy, and I'm trying to figure out a way to not make it about me, but to be able to tell them the benefits without making it sound like it's a nutrition talk. They don't want to hear about fruits and vegetables.
Well, and here's just a thought, Dale. Sometimes I've noticed that we can oversell people and they're feeling it. And sometimes, for not to sound bad, but you take it away from people. And I would continue reaching out. You know, I always love Scott. What would I do without my husband? But I always love to say, you never give advice to people who never ask for it. If they're not asking you for advice, it's painful when it's someone you love, but you don't give it. And because it's not well received. And I've learned that when I'm having conversations and I ask questions and try to get into a Juice Plus conversation, if someone's not asking questions back of me or responding and we're getting into a good conversation, I back off. They don't want to hear what I have to say. And the more I push, the more I'm pushing them away. So with them, it's killer. I hear you. It took me 7 years to get my dad on Juice Plus, but you know what? He finally did. But it came to a point that he had to realize he needed it. And until someone asks you, you know, you can kind of set the stage and warm up the temperature to get into a conversation. But if they're not asking you questions, you don't need, you back off. And
Right, well, I have
what you want to hear. So,
no, well, I have a situation that my grandson is on my children's health study plan. So I get they were chewables, and I was talking to my daughter-in-law, and nobody likes the chewables. So I said, well, well, he doesn't want anything. So then I said, well, why don't you try the capsules? And I swapped out the chewables for the capsules so she and her husband could try them for a month. And I haven't heard back. She doesn't want to talk about it much either, but I noticed that she's always on my website. Not my website, my Facebook page. But she doesn't ask any questions either. And we're to the point where we need to start another batch of child health study food. And I'm trying to figure out how to approach her without talking about it. Which sounds ridiculous. It's my own family.
Okay, that's okay. You know what? I think I would, you know, just stick with the facts on that one. Hey, it's time for you, just like you would, it's time for your next shipment to go out. Do you want to continue? Let them know you're okay. You love them. You know, I've got two 20-something daughters. One is consistent with her Juice Plus, one is not. And you know what? It's hard, but I have to let that go. They're adults, you know, they have to come to the point that they want it. And so it's hard, but we all have it. And they'll come around. I think they will. So, all right, thanks. Great question. Anybody else?
Yes. Hi.
Yes, Erin. Oh, I loved your face. That was so cute.
I want to get in there.
Get in there.
What was the, you said Carmen Fellow? Carmine?
Gallo, Galleo, Gallo.
Okay.
I thought that was pretty fascinating, that story. Oh, wait a minute. I've got a story to read y'all. Because when I read this story, it really helped me kind of compartmentalize those three different components. It says, so he's walking through a story to give an example of the three different components. It says, for an example, if you're talking about your copy machine's per minute output or its ink capacity, and check mark goes into what box? So if you're talking about your ink capacity, how many pages your copy machine will make in a certain amount of time, what box would that go into?
Logos.
Logos. Okay, thank you. So that's like statistics, facts, figures. So that would be kind of like our research and talking a lot about the research. It says make sure that every time you bring up a few fact or figure, it gets a new, well, what he's talking about is think back to how you communicate with people and think about the conversation and then kind of put it in the three boxes. So you know, am I doing more logos, more pathos, or more ethos? Okay, then he goes on to say, if you mention that you've been with the company for 10 years, the company has won 13 awards for copy machine greatness, then that goes into what category?
Ethos.
Ethos. All right, credibility, experiences, achievements. Excellent. And then lastly, and if you tell stories about how a customer becomes a hero to his daughter's middle school by copying 100 pages of colored Dr. Seuss quotes, that goes into the pathos or the emotional category. I thought that was a good kind of illustration to help us think through. We need all three. We need all three. So, okay, I am going to turn it over to Linda. And if you have any more questions, just put it in the chat section, and Linda's gonna take over with our planning. Hold on, Linda, I'll pull up, there we go. Okay, Linda, take it away. Okay, you may be unmuted. I don't see your face, but you may be unmuted.
Okay, here we go. So each week we go over different points that we need to, use our memory jogger. And this is the beginning of the month of October. And this week we need to plan, and we need to carefully plan, because of course we got the conference coming up, and we know that most of what we need to do this week should be done at the beginning, because we're going to be concentrating on everybody getting to listen to all those wonderful talks from our conference. So you start out by who can I share my story with? Who can I invite to maybe listen to some of the talks on that we're going to listen to? You can have them come over your house, and just put your thinking caps on about that. How many people can you connect with in these first few days of the week? So on your memory jogger, you want to, have you shared information and you need to follow up with that? What are your priorities for this week? I would say take Monday today and go to Wednesday and just say, what do I need to mostly get done these few days? You want to send somebody a YouTube, or you want to send somebody like the newsletter we are going to do on the Omegas? What is it that you want to get done? And it's focusing still on, our Juice Plus Live. Who do you need to circle back around with? Hopefully you have at least 10 names active that you're going to be working with this week. So in thinking about that, write down the 10 that you're most going to touch base with. Maybe it's following back with someone, or it's connecting with someone new. And then what partners do you need to reach out to? I think we all need to probably reach out to as many partners as we can and remind them to get their tickets for conference, and explain to them how exciting it's going to be. Share with them some of the agenda and just build it up. This is an event. This is an event for all of us, and it's a huge one for this week, that we can really enforce our business with new people. Maybe there's somebody you're going to bring on and engage them in our conference. Do you need to schedule any calls with your partners, or check on their PVCs and say, wow, you had a great month? And the 4 C's of coaching that Elaine has, that is a great one when you're reaching out to your partners. And also the ones that have said, no, not right now, we're not going to forget about them. We're going to put them in a pending list so that we can circle back around at some point, because things change. They might know today, tomorrow, it could be, wow, with this virus, I really need to step up my health. Or, wow, she seems to be posting a lot about her business. Maybe I should take a look at it. So make sure you do have at least 10 names that you're actively working with, and, you know, time block, time off to get something done with all those on your list. Remember that when the drawing for Dr. Du Bois and Sandy, you have to be on that Zoom if your name is called. I guess we'll just scream it out or whatever, but you have to be on. So we want to make sure that we tell our distributors, because wouldn't it be awful if one of your distributors' name was called and they were not on there? Suppose it was $500 and they were not on there. So we want to make sure that everybody has a really good chance. So I want everybody to have a productive week. I hope you have your memory jogger and you have all your priorities of who you want to touch base with, something that you want to send, who you're going to invite to conference. So all that. We're going to have a great, great week. It's going to be exciting, and I can't wait to see all the information that we're going to have. Elaine?
Thank you so much, Linda. All right, guys, hope y'all have a great week. And like Linda said, be sure to get on the conference. Look forward to, we're gonna, both in Team Focus and Team Extreme, we're gonna have drawings for people who are contributing their takeaways. So be sure and jump on and listen. Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.